Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news and short stories. I am Oyin Okbala. Let's begin. In tonight's special coverage on the United States election, a pivotal moment in American history marked by contrasting reactions and bold decisions as the dust settles on one of the most contentious races. Former President Donald Trump has defied the odds, securing a historic return to the White House. For millions of Americans, this re-election wasn't just about choosing a leader. It was a choice between two starkly different visions for the nation's future. In an extraordinary shift, Trump not only reclaimed the presidency, but did so with widespread support, capturing both the popular vote and an overwhelming electoral college victory. The contrast between this election and the contentious aftermath of 2020 are striking. 4 years ago, emotions ran high as Trump's refusal to concede created a large divide with accusations of election fraud and protests echoing across the country. This time, however, the Democratic candidate, Vice President Kamala Harris, delivered a concession speech marked by grace and maturity, accepting the results and calling for unity. Her gesture reflected a respect for the democratic process, symbolizing a commitment to stability at a time of deep political tension. The 2024 election results underscores a profound statement from the American people despite intense debate over Trump's policies. Many voters believe in this brand of leadership and are ready for a return to Make America Great Again agenda. For his supporters, Trump represents a vision of strength, order, and economic renewal, a sharp contrast to the struggles of recent years. Rising inflation, economic uncertainty, and a sense of weakened global standing have left many Americans yearning for change. And Trump promises to restore America's greatness resonate now more than ever. On tonight's Undaunted, we'll delve into the factors behind this remarkable political comeback, the polarizing issues that defend and defined this election, and the reaction sweeping across the nations from the passionate supporters celebrating Trump's return to those grappling with their outcome, as well as some reports from the home front. But first, the prime headlines. Here are the prime headlines for tonight. Traffic and circulation over the Lashers Bridge in Bamenda 4 months after the collapse of the bridge. No effort has been made to fix it. Elements of La Republic du Cameroon Defense Force found dead in Fondom. What's hope for the Kansas City 3? A lot of hope glimmers for the Kansas City 3. The La Republic du Cameroon Army, out of frustration, has brought down homes, destroyed businesses placed in a remote locality in the Atlantic zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Tonight on Undaunted, Prince William's visit to South Africa is strengthening ties and celebrating environmental innovation, while on the foreign scene, we'll take a comparison of Harris and Trump's speeches from 2020 and 2024. The consequences of La Republic du Cameroon's military atrocities have once again been highlighted. A certain corporal, Luasser of the colonial administration, has been found dead with a bullet in his heart at the Bafusco Air Military Post in Fondom, Ambazonia. Situated about 80 kilometers from Bamenda, while La Republic du Cameroon government officials claim suicide, many believe this tragedy reflects the repercussions of the military's ongoing abuses in southern Cameroon. The said corporal, Luasa, was discovered dead in his bed at Bafuscore Air Military Base in Fondia with a bullet wound to his head. And La Republic du Cameroon military authorities have suggested that he may have committed suicide. However, critics argue that his death is indicative of the atrocious activities soldiers get involved in colonial military operations and they have been committing. Since its beginning, the conflict is marked by significant human rights violation, where soldiers have often put Ambazonian citizens under immense psychological strain. Today, the trauma of participating in violent actions against these innocent civilians is leading to severe mental health issues, as many believe Luwasa, his death may be a direct result of this pressure. Community members expressed concern that the military conduct in the British Southern Cameroons has created an environment of despair among troops. Many believe that the ongoing atrocities have left soldiers grappling with moral conflict and emotional distress. Meanwhile, it is crucial to address the broader implications of these incidents as investigation into his death continues. The military operations in the colonized regions have not only harmed civilians but also adversely affected their mental well being as well. Well, according to Ambazonia residents, the blood of innocents spilled is finally taking vengeance. Before we go to our in house analysis, let's look at this Lachance Bridge. Now, traffic has hampered the circulation over Lachance Bridge in Bamenda. It's already 4 months after the collapse of the Lachance Bridge, and yet no effort has been made by colonial authorities to ease movement. The Lachance Bridge has been ignored for far too long. This you would agree with Undaunted. Users of the Lachance Bridge have a great challenge meeting their obligations on time as a result of constant traffic at the bridge. The bridge collapsed on the 14th of July 2024. The day it happened, the colonial authorities led by the colonial governor visited the place. And after that, nothing had been done to remedy the situation. It is held in the early hours of the morning as people are in a hurry to their workplaces, offices, and students to school. The bridge and the pain that denizens who are obliged to use that bridge go through and the time wasted on the spot is an attempt to cross the bridge means nothing to the colonial administrators. The colonial regime has the means to rehabilitate the bridge given the huge amount of money spent on the celebration of the octogenarians' 42 years in power. The economic impact of wasting about an hour on the bridge just to cross needs to be considered. Yet, the colonial regime is paying a deaf ear to the concern. Bryce Mbeseha, you're welcome to tonight's Undaunted. Two of the reports we just gave highlight the pain Ambazonians go through. Which do you want to start with? The Lachance Bridge, which you've been a part of ever since the bridge collapsed, where even the last report we did see colonial trucks struggling to go through that route, and we feared for their life. Well, for today's report, it's causing massive traffic, and yet people would have to pass through that route to get to work. What happens when that bridge eventually collapses and then people are not able to even go forward or even go back home?
Thank you for having me. The two items are very important. But let me start with the road issue, which you have just said it last. See, the bridge in Bamenda, I should cry here, looking at it in terms of Cameroon, is the tip of the iceberg. If you just look back 2 days ago, there was a collapse at the Falaise, that is the hill to Cham, where people are still lying in ruins. They cannot even know how many people died there. Even caterpillars sent to help were buried in the mud. The corpses of the drivers of the caterpillars and heavy engines are not yet recovered. Just 2 days ago, again, we're dealing with the road system, and they're quoting this. Something happened between Sangmelima and Yaoundé. A bus fell there and 15 people died on the spot. Again, that is the road. If Yaoundé cannot take care of its own in Chang, in the west, in Sangmelima, in the center, do you expect them to come and take care of your Bamenda? Certainly not. First, they don't want to do it. Secondly, they don't even have the money. Even if they had the money, don't have the technology and means to do it. As far as the road system is concerned, it is a total failure nationally and internationally. And so expect that bridge to deteriorate. I've had the opportunity to stress here many times before, saying what the French ambassador in Yaoundé came to Bamenda and told the people. They have not yet delivered it in terms of their reconstruction. The bridge is lying right there. If there are French people in Bamenda, they are crossing the bridge. They are struggling to cross it there. And so what does it mean for them? Their road network is a failure, total failure. They don't even know what to do if that very bridge collapses and people die there. They wouldn't know what to do. The other thing you will find them doing is that the governor will come from the top of the hill, call it upstation, and stand there and say, "Oh, I'm chef d'etat," and the prefect will come and they will go away. Who, in his smallest imagination or largest imagination, thinks that the governor, just because you're a governor, you have the technology on how to build roads. Just because you're a prefect, you know what roads are made of, or how to manage those accidents when they do occur. They may believe so, but experience shows they have no idea. Even when the bridge is going down, they don't know what is going on. And they don't know how to manage it when it finally goes down. And I will take us back to the La Falaise. The first people to arrive there officially was the governor and the prefect. And one would expect that in such an accident, Cameroon as a nation should ought to have something as simple as a scanner to be able to dictate where there's still life under the mud. They have no scanners. They don't know what they are doing. Even as we speak, if you show the video from there, you see people digging the ground again 48 hours with shovels, with pickaxes, with whatever they find, thinking they want to find living people in that mud. The governor has gone back, the prefect has gone back. And so, what do you expect of them? For those of us who still believe in Yahweh, that's a good testimony of why we should never be there. They have allowed what we had to deteriorate, and they have not even taken the opportunity to develop their own. Absolutely no development of their own infrastructure. And so if they cannot develop their own infrastructure, if they cannot repair even their own roads, because the bridge is collapsing, one expected that they would have repaired it. If they cannot repair an old bridge, how do you expect them to build a new bridge? What do they lack? Do they lack the technology? No. Do they lack the money? No. Because the money, I've said many times before, just from what they steal, let me just take it down to what they steal from SNH, which is gas from Dian, is more than would be all those roads, including the one in Chang, even including the one in Samilima. What they steal is more than what will provide for all the scanners needed in that country for the next 20 years. And so they stole the money. Nobody's holding on accountable. People are dying. And so there's total absence of governance. There's total absence of responsibility. And so if somebody is expecting something in Bamenda, I take it with a pinch of salt. Because if it does not happen in Samilima, next to Paul Biya's own village, it is not happening in Chang, in other places there, don't expect anything to happen in Bamenda. Worst of all, in what they call Angrowth, Northwest, Southwest, which they consider as their best. And so that is what it is for the roads. Don't consider anything from them. The best way would have been to get out of it, which are struggling to get out of it. Then I go to the second segment of a soldier dying in Fundam in suicide. What they claim to be suicide. It's highly possible. Why must the soldier die in suicide? Soldier die because war by itself, what they call war, is stressful, especially for the soldiers. That is why in war situations, in regular armies, there's what they call rotation. You don't stay in the war front for longer than normal. You're a human being. The stress of war is sometimes unbearable. Why are they not making this rotation? People stay in Fundam, people stay in Bamenda or Batibu, wherever, longer than what they are expected to stay. Therefore, they are stressed out. Remember that year, guns are shooting. A good number of those guys are married. They have their wives, they have their children back home. They are not even feeding. They don't have even good food. Talk less of even paying them the risk allowance. They are not doing it. But why are they not doing it? Why are they not rotating? Why are they not fulfilling these national standards of fighting a war? It is simply because they have lost the war. They don't have more soldiers to rotate. They rotated until they have re-rotated until they don't know what to do again. They don't have enough soldiers to do that anymore. And so they will die. Why? Because they declared a war when they were not prepared for it. And above all, why did not rotate? And I've said many times here before, that soldier who committed suicide, if you go to the background, he will be the son of a poor man recruited into the army just to survive. How many of those people in the army fighting Ambazonia so called are the children of ministers, are the children of the big guys? None of them is there. Their own children are safe at home. And so they don't care whether you die there or not. What's important for them is to make the economy of war. And why are they doing this? People could commit suicide for many reasons. One of the commonest reasons I've just given is the lack of rotation. The second one is that they are not even being paid the right full sum. Worst of all, they are not even being fed. That is why you find soldiers anywhere in Ambazonia rather stealing. They cut people's bunches of plantains, they harvest cassava, they steal chickens, they steal fowls, they steal everything they can find to eat. And so the war is above them. They cannot manage the war. They are now living the reality of the war that they declared. They brought all these on themselves. But what should they do? One must ask. The ordinary Cameroonese, the parents of those children dying, parents of those young men who have left their families and they are in the war front for what they don't even know we're fighting for. So until the own government can hold them accountable, what I can say as far as Brazil is concerned is that we're up to the task. We're holding them accountable. Those things, that suicide, call it suicide or whatever you call it has not gone unnoticed. It has been noticed by even the Francophone themselves. The Republic. It is noticed by the international community. The cost of war is expensive. The cost of declaring a war is not as simple as you think. And so Ambazonia, we've lost people just because of war. But the fact that they're still doing that now suggests strongly that they are not winning the way they thought they would win. And above all, you said in that what they say, man, they still go around committing genocide, burning down villages. The burning down of villages by soldiers, spotting compounds and burning down are signs of frustration. They cannot kill their colonel, they don't find him. They cannot kill their minister, they don't find him. What do? They turn on anything they can find and show their vengeance on it by burning their house, by destroying something, by raping a woman. Because they're human beings. If you starve him too many years of his sexuality, he's going to become hungry. If you go to read their record, they don't authorize you to go and rape women. But he's just a human being. That's why he rotates. So somebody who has a family goes back to meet his wife. So somebody who is living his free life rotates, he goes back to his normal house. Maybe he meets his girlfriend, or if he has need for sex, he goes and looks for a Harlot and pay the money or whatever thing. But putting them there in that stressful situation is a sign of loss. They are losing the battle, morally, militarily, and otherwise. And so ambassadors should be encouraged that those are symptoms, those are signs that will see light at the end of the tunnel. Over to you.
All right, Barrister Mbeseha. That's not even all of the frustration and atrocities that La Republic du Cameroon are presently doing or committing. We have this report about La Republic du Cameroon destroying homes, destroying business places in Atlantic zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. The La Republic du Cameroon Forces of Occupation on Monday, the 4th of November, vented their frustration on their innocent people of Pundo Bali, a remote locality in the Atlantic zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Out of frustration of not being able to meet their target, as is always the case, and motivated by their colonial mindset, they set houses ablaze and damaged appliances in a drinking spot. An estimated 5 buildings were completely burned to ashes with their contents. The colonial army stormed the locality in the name of hunting for those they called separatist fighters. Realizing that it was a failed outing for them, they took it upon themselves to inflict a lot of pain on the innocent population. These atrocities just came to add to the list of violations in Ambazonia that the colonial army is guilty of. Barrister Mbeseha, this is very sad. What would you have to say about this?
Well, I think I said it again last week. You see, what's happening in the Atlantic zone is what can happen and does happen everywhere else. There are bigger signs of the frustration. They have just activated another one again. Before this one, they activated the other arm of frustration, which they call Kali Kali, where they go around and arrest people everywhere in an attempt to claim to look for Amber, to look for separatists. And at the end of the day, you don't find them finding a single separatist to put him or her on trial. They extract money from people. And this is somebody's house they're burning, the business place. But how is the guy operating the business place? Find him, they're burning his generator. A lot of what you are saying is in big towns, in Atlantic Beach, in Atlantic zone. Why would somebody be saying a generator which you can't burn it down? Where's the electricity? Where's the electricity? What are these guys doing in the bar at night if they're soldiers? So there are just signs of frustration, as I've just mentioned before. There are signs of total defeat. They are trying to burn down what they did not burn 2-3 years ago. They are trying to empty it and continue their ravage of the city and of the communities to which they belong. The question we must ask ourselves is to those people there who live in that place and those of us who are watching on TV and otherwise, is this what we signed up to? Is this what we signed up to? After 5-7 years, it has not stopped. It is continuing. Is this what we want to continue living in? At the very least, even if there was an Amber there, do you need to burn down the whole business place to catch one single criminal? Certainly not. And so it's just a continuation of their deeds. The people of the Atlantic zone were essentially big cities. Buya, big city. Kumba, a big city. Ndian, these are the areas of what they call the Atlantic zone. And Kupe Maneguba. Why are they going through this? Why should they go through this? For no fault of theirs. People have escaped into the bushes. They have managed to buy generators to survive on, just to charge their phones. And people come and burn them. Can we ever, Ambassador, be blamed for what we are going through? Certainly not. As they were doing that thing 2 days ago or yesterday, today just 8, I think. What were they doing? People were celebrating Paul Biya's 42th anniversary of ascension to power, almost half a century. I asked them, what has Paul Biya to show in almost 50 years of reign? Nothing. And of course, we still find Ambazonians dying, going up station, going to Moyoko Stadium to watch a movie of Paul Biya, and upon return home, they die, like that madam, somebody in Bamenda. They die. What are they dying for? What are you celebrating for? I'd said earlier, if there's anything to celebrate in Ambazonia, you should be wearing sackcloth. Forever daring joining these people who did join. And secondly, forever having such a criminal at the head of a state called Paul Biya. We should never have been there. We have said no to it, and we are going back to where we came from. They can burn the houses, they have burned them already. They can destroy the roads, they have destroyed most before. they are continuing with the destruction. But, as I've said all the time, we shall pick the pieces where they are and continue to live. We shall survive. Come rain, come sun. We shall survive this onslaught because we never brought it on ourselves. They brought it on us. They are also paying the price, but we shall survive. Over to you.
Well, we'll definitely survive, and that survival, ability would definitely continue to be there because the case of the Kansas City Three is a typical case of survival. The case of the Kansas City Three, talking about Claude and Che, Francis Che, and Lee Nestor Lamy, has stirred intense debate and highlighted the complexities of international justice. These three U.S. citizens of Ambazonian descent have been imprisoned in the U.S. since late 2022, charged with providing material support to separatist group, their country of origin in the southern Cameroons, in quote. Now, the arrest and ongoing detention underscores a troubling inconsistency in the U.S. legal standards, particularly when compared to similar cases involving support for foreign conflict. In November 2022, the federal grand jury in Kansas City indicted Chinye and the Alangmi on 4 counts alleging their involvement in supporting anti-government forces in Ambazonia, a sovereign nation who has been annexed by the French Cameroons and now seeking restoration of its independence from the French Cameroon. However, they have been denied bail for over 2 years, a situation that violates legal conventions. Dr. Martin Mungwa, FASCE, a prominent figure in the Ambazonian government, who is also the Ambazonian spokesman, has raised poignant questions over and over again about the fairness and consistency of the U.S. treatment of these citizens supporting foreign conflict. He contracts the Kansas City Three's predicament with the U.S. government's relatively lenient stance towards individuals aiding conflicts in Ukraine or Israel, as well as historical cases involving conflicts in African countries like Angola and Cuba. Dr. Mungwer's comments further highlighted a double standard in the U.S. justice. The Amazonian government, generally led by President Samuel Ikomisako, actively pursues diplomatic channels to secure the release of the Kansas City Three, despite limited international mediation for this course. Recent developments, such as House Resolution 1008, reflect growing engagement by the international community, though a comprehensive resolution remains elusive. This case, so far, has, revealed significant concerns about the selective persecution of individuals based on the conflict they support. The Justice Department reliance on the U.S. Code 2339A, which restricts material support to foreign groups, has been criticized for its ambiguity and potential for settling troubling precedents. Critics argue that this selective application of the law undermines principles of justice and equal treatment. And so, to this effect, there will be a one on one exclusive interview with Tar Party King, featuring Linux Hands as guest. The date is for Tuesday, 12th November 2024 by 8 p.m. And of course, it will critically be examining the Kansas City 3 over 730 days in confinement. And so, Ambazonians, the general public, this particular discussion is for you. This is for Ambazonians. So, you all keep a date on Tuesday, the 12th of November. Bryce Mbeseha, the Kansas 3 since 2022 has been a case on the front burner. Diplomatic steps have been taken. The government's position has been made clear. Their pleas and all of the moves has been clear too. But so far, it seems like there are still a few dots to be, dotted, and a few I's to be dotted, I beg your pardon, and a few T's to be crossed. What would you have to say about this?
Well, the Kansas City 3 is not just about legality, it is also about diplomacy. And the complex nature of diplomacy, international diplomacy, makes it harder and harder. But I don't know what the interview on Friday, tomorrow, will be like. But what I can tell you in confidence is that government of Dr. Sako is taking the matter beyond what we would expect. I happen to be a member of some of the insider issues that have been discussed, at the level of diplomacy. It's no longer legality, because if they had a legal case, for example, they would have brought the people to court and had a jury try them, put their case, and they win or lose. They have not done that. To suggest that there's, and in fact, it concerns another country called Cameroon, that in principle includes Ambazonia. It includes Ambazonia, and in Yaoundé, they have an embassy that represents the United States over a total surface called Cameroon, including us. And so we are trying to navigate those things. We will navigate them, and I'm sure victory will be ours. Especially at this point in time, we're now in November. In the next 60 days, administration will change hands in the United States based on their last 2 days presidential election results. And we can only hope that by the time this administration gets out of office by January, the Kansas City 3 will be free. That's highly possible, but we cannot give you that as a guarantee. So that is a possibility, and I think President Sako is doing so much, even as we speak, trying to handle that matter to be sure that it is done. I can only hope and pray that if it is done and the Kansas City 3 gain their physical freedom, they would be entitled to get legal compensation for the trauma they have gone through. But that is all work for diplomatic approaches for the future. But rest assured that it is nobody sleeping over it. Also rest assured that in every struggle like that, we have unwilling victims. Those are victims of a larger context. The Kansas City 3 could be you and me, because there's nothing to accuse them that we're not doing. They accuse them for drafting. That of us draft. They accuse them for belonging to Gokutunja County. That all of us belong to different counties. They have not accused them for doing anything differently. They are accused as being cheap people for a county, collecting money to try to help the people back home as a county, which all of us are doing. So that's why I say they are just victims of a legal process. Why are they charging all these three? Why are they not charging me? I'm also a member of the county. I draft. We are talking here about it. Why have they not charged us? So they're just victims of a situation that we cannot legally explain, but we can diplomatically explain that in diplomatic things, many things are done silently and positive results will always come out. Let's rest assured that this is not going to prolong for so long, especially as we come to the close of this 4-year-old Biden-Harris administration. We're not accusing them, but new administration comes to power with its own vision. They inherit fires. I'm not sure this is one of the fires that the Trump new administration will want to inherit come January 20th. So rest assured, it is still there. It is not because effort it's not been made now. A lot is working behind the screens. Who believe, and I believe personally, I can show you personally that I'm part of the teams. I don't know which of the teams are there, but I'm part of some of the teams that are doing this thing behind the screen. Let's convince. Let us keep them in prayers again. We'll be released, and hopefully they'll be adequately compensated for their wrongful detention, because they did nothing wrong. If they did something wrong, all of us should be in jail, because they did exactly what we're doing. We've been doing since 2019. So why is the own act illegal? Why mine is legal? Why yours is legal? Why? Just discrimination. Probably due to few misunderstanding. And so that's what I can say about that. Let's be encouraged. Let us keep them in prayers. Let us keep encouraging this government to go forward. Diplomacy itself is not cheap. We spend money for those things. So let us draft and draft to support the effort that is being done to get them out of jail. Over to you.
All right, Barrister Mbeseha, thank you for that voice of hope that you have given there. Please hold on a bit. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on the comparison we have for the foreign scene. But first, let's take the African report. Prince William visited South Africa this week, beginning with a work alongside conversationists and rangers at Table Mountain National Park before meeting with the country's president. The South African presidency described his visit as a symbol of the strong ties the United Kingdom, including the royal family, share with South Africa in a step towards deepening this historic connection. The Prince of Wales is in South Africa for several days to attend their Earthshot Prize Award ceremony. Set to take place on Wednesday, established 4 years ago, the Earthshot Prize honors innovation aimed at tackling climate change and other environmental issues. Winners receive $1.3 million each to advance their project. This year's finalists include the Amazon Sacred Headwaters Alliance, which unites indigenous groups to protect rainforests, and the Autumn Dollar Conversation Initiative, credited with serving and saving the endangered tiger antelope from extinction. This marks the first time the Earthshot Prize award ceremony will be held on this African continent. During this trip, Prince William is also scheduled to attend a wildlife summit and participate in additional climate related engagements. This is his first time in Africa since a long time. Meanwhile, South Africa has temporarily closed its border crossing with Mozambique following reports of vehicles being set ablaze on the Mozambique side. The closure comes amid violent protests in Mozambique, where opposition supporters have taken to the streets to contest what they call a fraudulent election result. Several Mozambican officials have sought refuge in South Africa, citing safety concerns. According to human rights organizations, over a dozen people have been killed as security forces respond to the protests with tear gas and live ammunition. The Mozambican government has warned of a potential military deployment if unrest continues and has restricted internet and social media access across the country. The protests erupted after the ruling Free Limo Party, in power over 1975, claimed victory in the 2024 election. The opposition has contested the result, filing an appeal with the Constitutional Council alleging widespread electoral fraud. The question is, where would Africa learn to contest the kind of election the US just conducted? Well, coming up next is the news across the globe. Well, Vice President Kamala Harris delivered a gracious concession speech at Howard University, her alma mater, emphasizing the importance of accepting election results and ensuring a peaceful transfer of power. This was a subtle jab at Donald Trump, who had previously refused to commit to accepting the election's outcome. Harris' speech highlighted her commitment to democracy and unity, values that are essential for a president. In her address, Harris stated, in her words, when we lose an election, we accept the result. This statement underscores the significance of respecting the democratic process and the will of the people. By doing so, Harry demonstrated her dedication to upholding the principles of democracy even in defeat.
We have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background, united by love of country with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. And anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it. At the same time, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States.
Oh, well, interestingly, Harry's concession speech also included a phone call to Trump, where they discussed the importance of a peaceful transition and, being a president for all Americans. This gesture showcases Harry's willingness to put aside partisan differences and, prioritize national unity. Interesting, you would say. Now, comparing the 2020 US presidential election concession speech is a bit challenging since, Donald Trump didn't formally concede the election. But let's hear what he said eventually.
We were winning everything, and all of a sudden it was just called off. The results tonight have been phenomenal, and we are getting ready. I mean, literally, we were just all set to get outside and just celebrate something that was so beautiful, so good, such a vote, such a success. The citizens of this country have come out in record numbers. This is a record. There's never been anything like it. To support our incredible movement, we won states that we weren't expected to win. Florida, we didn't win it. We won it by a lot. This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. We did win this election. So our goal now is to ensure the integrity for the good of this nation. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list, okay? It's a very sad moment. To me, this is a very sad moment, and we will win this. And as far as I'm concerned, we already have won it.
Oh, well. But I mean, this year, let's say he had it. But can we also take a look at the concession speech made by other candidates in similar situation? Undaunted did this analysis. In 2020, Joe Biden secured enough votes to become president-elect, but Trump didn't accept the result as fair and refused to commit to a peaceful transfer of power. This was a historical first, as no modern presidential candidacy had ever refused to concede defeat once all votes were counted and legal charges and challenges resolved. Of course, it's a democracy state, so why not? Al Gore's concession speech in 2000 is a notable example. After initially conceding to George Bush, Gore retracted his concession due to the close vote count in Florida, following a 35-day legal battle. Gore delivered a televised concession speech, emphasizing the importance of accepting the election outcome and ensuring a peaceful transition of power. But in contrast, John McCain in 2008's concession speech to Barack Obama is often cited as a model of graciousness. McCain congratulated Obama on his victory, acknowledged the significance of the election, and urged unity. While we can't directly compare Trump's non-concession speech to another, these examples highlight the significance of concession speeches in promoting democratic values and peaceful transition, just like Harris did and melted hearts. However, not everyone shares Harris' sentiments, anyways. Trump's foes have already begun mobilizing against his administration, vowing to provide no honeymoon in quote period. Advocacy groups such as the Syria Club have pledged to challenge Trump's policies in court and pressure corporations to adopt environmentally friendly practices. In essence, the stark contrast between Harry's conciliatory tone and Trump's opponent's aggressive stance raises questions about national political divide. How come the people of the United States, in all of this, decided to vote him as their president, regardless? The question we are waiting to answer. With Trump set to take office the 28th of January, the stage is set for Trump, a great level. On the other side, President Joe Biden acknowledged Donald Trump's victory over Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election. During a speech in Rose Garden, Biden emphasized the importance of accepting election results and ensuring a peaceful transfer of power, stating in his words, "In our democracy, the will of the people always prevails." He also promised a peaceful and orderly transition from his administration to Trump's, highlighting his commitment to democracy and unity.
Struggle for the soul of America since our very founding has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time.
Well, Biden's speech was gracious and conciliatory, reflecting his dedication to upholding democratic principles, even in defeat. This approach contrasts with Trump's stance in 2020 election. The president's words underscore the significance of respecting the democratic process and the will of the people. Emphasis is on the will of the people. Bryce Mbeseha, I'm sure you've been following the U.S. election, and I really wanted to get your thoughts. That's why I had to drag you onto the news across the globe. Give us your thoughts on this. Trump and Harris accepting the
I've been following, I've participated and I've followed American elections for a long time. I've been voting in American elections. For why? The important thing for us to know, what is a concession speech? A concession speech is always given by the losing candidate, the candidate who has lost, who concedes by telling the victorious party candidate, you have won. And since you have won, as you hear them say it summarily, that is the will of the people. And because that is the will of the people, we accept the will of the people. Because that is, in essence, what democracy is about. There is no democracy without Democrats. If you don't have a democratic approach, you will never find democracy. And to the best of my knowledge and information, for the past 100 or 150 years, out of American more than 200 years of existence, there are always concession speeches and acceptance speeches by the victorious candidate, except to the best of my knowledge, only once. In 2020, when the last presidential election took place, Mr. Trump was the incumbent president who lost the election. He never gave a concession speech till today. Rather than give a concession speech, he engineered a fight, which is what the whole election is intended to avoid. You don't go to the streets to shoot people with guns to make your point in American politics. But again, Trump is the man who did not make a concession speech for the past 150 years. He didn't make one. And now it has been made when he is declared the victor. He has been declared the victor. You see the burden, they are the incumbent. They are the one who will say, we'll give you the power. Because it is the Democrats, Biden, who is in power. We'll make an ordinary transition to you. It was the same thing in 2016. When Trump won at the end of Obama's term, Obama said, we'll give you the transition. I will transfer the staff to you. That's a sign of maturity. That's what American democracy is all about. But some new elements have come in. Because after this election 2024, Mr. Trump accepted, he gave what they call a victory speech. But if you go into the fine print of his victory speech, what is he telling you? He lost in 2016, 2020, sorry about that. I went to court, to every court in the world. But what is he saying today? If nobody goes to court, we'll get the Supreme Court to trash it out. That is not a good sign for the United States. If you believe in the courts, if you believe in the Supreme Court, like he believed, even though he lost all the cases, you must also accept that your opponents who lost have the right to those courts. Although they have conceded, they have the right to go to the court and have justice done. You cannot promise them hair. You cannot promise to use the court to strike out their rights. But that's beyond the point. Whether he tries to do that or not, come 2025 January, Mr. Trump will be the president. A lot of things are said in politics in general and in American politics in particular that are just empty promises. They cannot fulfill them. They are impossible to be fulfilled. And a good example is, can always look at Trump. Trump is not the first comer on the presidency. He has been the president from 2016 to 2020. And before becoming the president, he made promises, many of which he never fulfilled. A political promise made on video or audio is not a deed. For example, all of us remember Trump saying that he will build a wall in the Mexican border and Mexico will pay for it. It is on the record that for his 4 years that he was there, he tried to build a wall. He never built all, but Mexico paid nothing, not even a dime. So let us take him for what he is. As far as Ambazonia is concerned, we're not concerned with their concession speeches. We're not concerned with their acceptance speeches. We are concerned with what the administration come January will do for Ambazonia. That's why we Ambazonians should be strategizing now. Because earlier than this, when we started this thing 2-3 months ago, I always said one thing. Come January, you have either a Harris or a Trump in the White House. How each of them deals with the Ambazonian problem is what concerns us. All the promises they make in concessions or in acceptance are irrelevant to us. If Trump said, well, I'll go and fight for democracy everywhere in the world, I will fight to liberate everybody in the world. That's not enough for us. We need to see him hold our own case, hold him accountable, which is different from making a general promise. All American presidents make the same general promise. How many American presidents have passed since 1948, for example, where they promised to bring peace to the Middle East? How many of them have solved the Palestinian problem, in spite of promising to make a two-state federation? They have not. So those things are just promises, some of which are purely empty. They go nowhere. As far as Ambazonia is concerned, and as far as this government is concerned, and if you are seeking my advice, I would simply be saying that let us start to strategize, knowing that come January, they will assist Trump in the White House. Trump is not a new face to us. He's not new in the Ambazonian problem. Ambazonian problem broke out in his hands in 2016. He was already president in 2016 when the crisis started. And so, how he handled it, I think, to be fair, in spite of all his rhetoric, he did the best that I could imagine. He caused an informal meeting on the Security Council to hold on Ambazonia. That was Trump. He pulled out of Alot, straight away from the Republic. That was Trump, as far as Ambazonia is concerned. He defined the problem of Ambazonia and said, let the parties go to the conference table and address the issue without preconditions. That was Trump in 2019. And in 2022, it was under Trump. No, it was no longer under Trump. They was followed by Biden, who supported the Swiss-led initiative to solve our problem. So what is important in politics is where does your interest lie? So judging Trump by what he did in his first term 8 years ago, let me call it like that, we can expect more because he comes back now and will tell him that, look, that problem you tried to solve in 2019 is not yet gone. It's still there. And we'll pick the spoils from there. And if he wants to hesitate, we don't know where he's going to have the same stuff. We say, but this is how you did it in 2019. You cannot contradict yourself. You cannot contradict yourself. There are calls for people to negotiate without preconditions. You have defined the problem, you understood it. You cannot claim now not to know it. It's still the same trouble. So let us agree that those speeches are good or bad, but flesh must be put on the bones of a speech. And that flesh that we put on the bones of every speech is the material action that we're taking. No two problems are similar. Ours is Ambazonian independence. We look forward to whatever is coming in January 20th, 2025. That's just about 2 months' time. So we prepare our package, we present it to them. And as I said earlier, we hope that Biden is not going to, that Trump is not going to inherit the Kansas City 3. We hope that by then, this particular aspect of the problem would have been solved. So let us wait. We put fresh to the bones of what they say. What they are saying now is irrelevant. What they do come January 20th is what is relevant to us. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha, for that lengthy discussion. And I really love how you're linked because I was going to ask what happens to the Kansas City Three. I loved how you linked both, and Ambazonians can understand the passion behind all of this. Thank you so much for being part of tonight's Undaunted. See you next time on Undaunted.
Thanks for being with me.
Right, coming up next is the recap of tonight's bulletin. All right, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that traffic has hampered the circulation over the Lashers Bridge in Bamenda. We did tell you that it's been 4 months after the collapse of the Lashers Bridge, and up until now, no effort has been made to fix the bridge. Elements of the Republic to Cameroon's Defense Force found dead in Fundon. Tonight, we took a look at the hope for the Kansas City Three as the new U.S. election president sets in. The La Republic of Cameroon army, out of frustration, has burned down homes, destroyed business places in a remote locality in the Atlantic zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. On the African scene, we told you that Prince William's visit to South Africa is a form that's going to strengthen ties and celebrate environmental innovation. Meanwhile, we did tell you that U.S. election has come and it has gone. We compared the speech of Harry and that of Trump of 2020. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Bringing you the news untold stories. On behalf of the technical crew that put their heads together to ensure today's broadcast a success, we say good night and God bless.